What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from AlexCFE, and today we have another deck profile. Now, this is something for premium, something that I don't think I've really seen out there too much, something that one of my buddies, Tommy, aka Shneez Furno, on Twitter kind of put together. He's been tooling this a whole lot. I know he's been working with Ootman, me, other people kind of just like playtesting and whatnot, and I think this is actually a really good deck. Something that is extremely fun if you are looking to play something that is not a Crest deck in this Crest deck meta, that kind of has like an adjacent, almost, I want to say, playstyle in that you kind of continuously gain power over time. This is actually very, very fun. We're going to be looking at a Crestless version of Luard. So I know what you're probably thinking. The Crest version, all the Crests right now are just running around. They're the best versions of every single deck. Like, you have to be playing that if you want to play in premium. And I think that's true for a lot of other decks. But for Luard itself, I feel like you actually get less value playing the Crest. And if you whiff it, it just feels absolutely terrible. Whereas this kind of goes into a different playstyle, something completely different. Just like, it still enables you to grow in power with the force markers over time, but there's a very particular closeout turn that you can't actually use in the Crest version of this deck. And of course, the Crest version is just way more expensive. I don't want to call this budget by any means, but this is definitely a lot less expensive than it was maybe even like a year or 2 years ago. A lot of these cards have been reprinted. I think a lot of the G Zone. I'll show you what the expensive stuff is, but like, obviously they've been reprinted too. So a little bit of budget, has a really cool play style. If you like kind of a deck where you go and piggy bank, go grab all the stuff that you want, a lot of sequencing, things of that nature, this is definitely the deck for you. So without further ado, let's check it out. And just really quickly before we begin, I wanted to mention that if you are interested in purchasing any of the cards you see here today, we do have a TCG Player affiliate link down in the description below, absolutely no cost to you. You could help support the channel by shopping through that link. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you in advance. And if you are enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like on the video, possibly consider subscribing to the channel. But with all the good stuff out of the way, let's hop right in. So starting off with the main boss unit, obviously we just saw it before. 4 copies of Luard. So Luard, of course, we are going to go over the skill because you actually do sit on this and the other version quite a bit throughout the game, and there's actually a time where you kind of pull the trigger on starting to go to strides if you really feel like you are at that correct point. But this was basically our force marker generator, keeping us on par, like I said, with the Crest power kind of growing throughout the game. Dragart Luard, act on Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, you retire 2 grade 1 rear guards, draw a card, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. Card draw is always good. You want to have your grade 1s in the drop, obviously, for a Luard deck. Act on Vanguard Circle, its second ability here once per turn. This guy's ability is reduced by CB1 for every grade 1 you have in your drop, CB3, and then return 2 normal units from your drops onto your deck. Search your deck for up to 1 Drag Driver Luard, ride it as stand, and shuffle your deck. At the end of this turn, ride a Drag Card Luard from your soul and rest it. So basically go recycle units, call units out when you get the new guy out. On top of it, generating a force marker when you ride this initially, generating a force marker when you get the second Luard, and then obviously when you ride back into this the end of turn, you're going to generate another. So 3 per turn, kind of keeping you on par, if not a little bit faster, than the the Crest power threshold. So a turn or 2 on this guy, you know, and the drag driver combo, which we'll kind of just get into right now. We'll talk about that. Honestly, is completely fine. Once you have those, I'll show you what the kill move kind of is, and I think in the modern day Luard deck, it actually is a pretty decent closeout tool, and you have the tools to kind of have you survive to get to that point, unlike previously. So this is Drag Driver Luard. During your turn, this guy gets 5k for each of your grade 1 rear guards, and then if you have 2 or more grade 3 cards in your soul, the original crit of all your grade 1 cards becomes 2. Easier to get them kind of into soul now at this point. This can go live pretty early on into the game. Auto on Vanguard Circle, when placed, you get the CB1. Search your deck for up to the same number of cards in your soul with Luard in their card names, plus 1 grade 1 cards, call them to rear guard circle. So basically just flood the field. You keep going over and over. There's targets in here that become obviously like grade 1s. Just a very powerful offensive kind of thing. Thing is, if you stay on these, you don't get the triple drive as much, but if you are rigging your deck the way that we are kind of going to be going into, you'll see it's a lot easier to kind of survive and maybe bypass that, you know, the value of that triple drive overall. So 2 copies of this because it is recyclable, 4 copies of the main one. Let's get into the next card over here. Next up, we have obviously Eldona. So Eldona is a 100% necessary in this deck. Really makes some of our ratios work, really just makes our survivability, our draw potential, our farming kind of a lot easier altogether. So in the deck or the drop zone, this guy gets straight grade -2, counting as a grade 1 that you can search. It's a second skill over here, auto in the hand. If your Vanguard is grade 1, you get to discard this card. And then look at the top 10 cards of your deck, and if you reveal 2 or more grade 1 units, which you should, always pretty much 100% hit rate on that, choose a grade 2 grade or a card from among them, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. It allows you to go search out a grade 2 if you need to ride it. You'll get your copies of Luard, whichever one you need. Just very, very good. And then his third skill, final skill over here, auto on Van or rear. When this guy attacks, CB1, retire 2 other rear guards, draw 2 cards, and its units on Vanguard Circle. For every 1 grade 1 card in your drop, this guy gets an additional 5k until the end of turn. Obviously, we're not going to put this on Vanguard Circle, but just the retiring 2 other rear guards, maybe clearing your board against some stuff that would otherwise snipe it or just get really bad value. To just retire those for a CB and draw 2 cards. It feels really, really good. Needed this at 4 of for obvious reasons. It is just a Make-A-Wish kind of card for this clan deck. Now, for the kill turn itself, I'm going to go into the specifics of it, but this is like the main engine on how you actually like get it off. This is going to be Raziel. So Raziel, when you call this down, basically you're going to put Chain Ranker over it, so it's going to copy these guys' skills, but when this guy attacks Vanguard, choose up to 2 of your cards, CB1, choose up to 2 cards with different grades, and a total grade less than or equal to the number of cards in your damage zone, call them to rearguard circle. Also, it's Divine Skill, act on Vanguard circle, Soul Blast 1, return all crits from your drop to the deck, shuffle it, and then this guy gets drive +1 until the end of turn. Until the end of turn, you cannot ride anything without Raziel. And when your damage check reveals a trigger other than crit, you may have your damage zones 5 or more cards. Basically, it just becomes a heal instead. So you check a crit, boom, you actually healed out. So you need to be able to really just make sure that this is the final turn. You're going to put them under a triple door with the potential Chain Ranker. You're going to give the Chain Ranker an extra drive. It just makes it really, really tough that when you have, you know, 5 like a 5-2 split or 3-3, whatever it is, when you split your force markers, put them on your rears, have these huge columns. They're just like doubled up now. On top of that, there are ways to kind of insulate and make sure that those things don't get targeted, so they're not like popped as interactable as kind of other decks might have been. But just this multi-attack under a triple door is like absolutely insane. This is kind of the closeout that you are looking for. So, and if you can't survive off that, like, you know, granted, you can just kind of go into it over and over and still get the value, at least of those force markers later into the game. I think that in Shadow Paladin, you could abuse the Raziel the most. I've been trying it in like other decks as well. I have like a Royals build that I've been trying with it. I've contemplated in a couple others. I don't even want to mention them right now, but it is pretty cool. It's actually really cool. It's a nice like natural integration, I feel like, of a D series card, not like a forced deck, like forced as in like, you know, you have to try to make it work kind of thing. Lastly, for our grade 3s over here, a lot of grade 3s in here, which will be important for later on. This is actually going to be Bracing Angel Ladder. Just making your units untouchable is pretty good in premium format, especially. Just drop the card. Let me get that. Putting into Soul, fueling your Soul Blast costs, giving your guys 5k, your Vanguard 5k. You know, all good stuff. Pretty standard stuff in general. So including one of those, and it's important to have a high grade 3 count in this deck. I'll show you why just a little bit over here. So our next card up over here, I do want to kind of mention that this is actually. So this is a real card, but I want you to consider it almost 4 more copies of another card. We're basically trying to find our target grade 1 to go search it out, to go get our grade 2 ride target. Don't really want to be riding this as much. I feel like you don't have the pressure early on if you do ride this. Its first skill is pretty decent as well, but the second skill is what we really run it for. Auto on Van or Rearguard Circle when this unit attacks. While boosted, CB1, search your deck for up to 1 grade 1 card, call it to rear, and shuffle your deck. Enabling some multi-attack, which is good if you want to actually abuse that and kind of go into it a little bit earlier. If you feel like you have the right amount of force markers, maybe you have some extra CB, go for it. Totally cool. In hand though, obviously this is like the cycler, so you can go ditch this at the beginning of your turn. Make sure you declare this before you declare, what is it? You can't declare this before you do the G assist and stuff. So just a heads up with that ruling. But basically, to just discard this, go search for the grade 2 that you're looking for, the grade 1. Whatever the case may be. It's mainly a 1 grade 1, which we will go over in just a little bit. Our next up cards for here, I'm going to kind of bring these as a package. Obviously, we are running the main in this deck, and with that being said, we actually want to go search out Dump Hood. I know this is like an older deck, and like I've tried it without this. I feel like minimizing our grade 2s in this deck and including this package really helps us out in the long run. Getting onto the Blaster Dark and getting that that twin drive most of the time feels really, really good. Unless you're up against a deck that has like, you know, a lot of like early aggression and things of that nature, like you most of the time will get that double drive, that twin drive off. And even if they do have like one thing on the field, you know, if you pop it with whatever you might have, this over here, the when play CB1, get rid of something, you know, boom, they just have a blank field. So the Dump Hood retiring itself for the Soul Blast, this guy just becoming a twin drive target. I feel like it still is the best ride target in a Crestless build at least. And yeah, it's been pretty successful so far. I know we've already talked about it, so I just want to bring it up first and foremost here, starting off with our grade 1s. We're going to look at Nemain. So this is the V Nemain. You don't need the D1 anymore. The D1's a little bit more fragile in general. I feel like it for the counterblast cost that it basically requires you to kind of put something in Soul. There's other ways to do it. I feel like this is the best iteration of it. Basically searching off the Dump Hood. You want to see this in your opening hand every single time. This and one additional grade 1 will get you to your grade 2 and really allow us to have, you know, not really care about the wonky grade 2 ratio of 6 in there. So I want you to kind of think that this is another count of a grade 2 because you can go search the Dump Hood off of it. And there's tons of other targets too. There's a couple at least other targets as well. Things that you can get value off of. You can go search itself out to just thin your deck out, but you need 4 4 of these. I believe that is the correct ratio. Next up is a new card too. This is actually really good. I feel like if V format was still around, the Luard would be absolutely insane with this card, like actually tier 0 still. So if you're playing the side event, Tommy actually did play, the guy who's built this deck. He actually did play the side event. I believe he won in Philly, so he won with Luard with this and stuff. So he's a true Luard player. This guy over here, this is going to be Conspiracy Knight Creedulad, something like that. And in hand, you may discard this as a G Guardian, which the G Guardians are very important in this deck. There's one that's very specific that is just amazing. When this guy is put on Guardian Circle from hand, you remove a heal guard from hand or drop. Choose up to 2 of your grade 1 rear guards without Sentinel until the end of turn. They get intercept, they can intercept from the back row, and when this unit is retired, you can go on Guardian Circle and put this unit into hand. So, and 10k plus 5k, I'm sorry. And if you do not choose 2 cards, you get the CB1, choose one of your Vanguards, gets 5k. You don't really want to do the 5k thing, but being able to get units back into your hand and get their on-place effects, or just clear your board for things that might actually be popped later on, whether it's bound or retired, whatever case may be, it just feels so good to get those grade 1s in your hand. You know, 10k shields or 10k shields, that's always good. On top of that, they become 15s. This helps the deck insulate a whole lot, as well as getting you into a potential G-Guard as well. So 2 copies of this. 2 copies of Hanali, just because it's super important to kind of play Hanali, especially in a meta against where Harry is running around now. A lot of multi-attack decks, things like, you know, Jet Crest, obviously this Crest, Harry, Night Rose. I mean, there's just so many things, Katrina, there's so many things that attacks multiple times. And yes, a lot of decks can play around this, but, you know, make them do the song and dance, make them do what they want, you know, the less optimal version, and play around the Hanali and really get to, you know, what you want to do to them, which is devoid them of a multi-attack and survive. Survivability is just like the name of the game with this deck. There are cards still not even on yet that really get you to that point. And we see some cards that have insulated us so far, with whether it be card draw, the Interceptor, just a lot of different things in general. But Hanali is necessary in this format. I would even bump it to 3 maybe. I'm still trying something out. I think I might cut it and bump that to 3, but I'll show you in a second. 2 of these guys over here, Black Sage Sharon. Of course, this is just your counter charger. Also 11k body, which is a little weird, but it's, you know, an early V number where they were still trying to figure stuff out, I guess. But Soul Blast 1, counter charge 1 when this guy is placed by an ability of your card, and then this guy gets an additional 3k until the end of turn. So you 2 of them. I think that one of it's too small. You know, just extend your plays a little bit more, helping you kind of keep throughout the game. 1 of the Abyssal Owl. This might go to 2. I might play around with some ratios or some stuff, but for now, just 1, because we really want to use it for the Soul Blast, not the Counter Blast, and it's a little bit harder, obviously, when you're on like a grade 4 or something like that. So if your opponent's Vanguard is equal to or less than this guy, or actually more than this guy, then your Vanguard at the time when this guy's placed, you get to Soul Blast instead of a Counter Blast, and you get to just draw a card. So card draw is always good, again, keeping us in the game. It's a 5k target. You search off in the main. 1 of these over here, again, this is a toolbox kind of deck. You can go search whatever you want off of the Luard. Earth Elemental Connell. When this guy would be chosen by any fighter due to the effect of an opponent's card, choose units including this unit as much as possible. So basically this becomes a target. It forces you, you know, Narkheim is going to bind something on your board. Oh, guess what? You have to choose this. You're going to retire something, you have to choose this. Maybe some of the pieces that you want to keep mid-battle phase or whatever it is will be targeted. This guy kind of helps you blanket that. I feel like this is a little less important now than it was previously, so this might be the card I cut for a 3rd Hanali, which I think is just super important right now, because that is a GB1, and we are actually having like a turn or 2 with just pretty much like Luard. Like, it's still just a really strong like strategy, even in premium, even without like the triple drive and stuff. Nightmare Painter here, just 1 place, put a grade 1 or less card from your drop into your soul, and this guy gets 3k. Go and grab the Eldona, put it into your soul, get your first turn live with a bunch of extra crits. It's easier now than ever. Very, very easy to kind of pull off, so that is just that. Lastly, for our main deck, aside from the starter, this is going to be Knight of Heavenly Stride Salir. This is actually like one of the best cards in the deck. You always want to be playing this. You always want to be recycling it, putting it back into deck. Absolutely nuts. This is the card that will really insulate you and put you kind of into the long game without you even realizing. Like, playtest this deck, playtest this card, and you'll see what I'm talking about. When this guy's placed on rear, Soul Blast 1, reveal 3 grade 3s from your hand, and then choose a grade 3 from your drop, put it onto the top of your deck. Obviously, we're running the grade 3 heals, so we're going to put that heal on top of our deck. You always want to soak a little bit of damage early so that you get that heal live. And this deck does use Counterblast on top of that. So we have, I think it's 12. Is it 10 or 12 grade 3s in here, plus the additional, is it 10 or 12? Let me just count it real quick. It's actually 13, and then plus the 4 heal guards makes it really 17 overall. So a lot of grade 3s to choose from. You reveal them, stack that up. It's just super easy. I would definitely include this. Test this out. This is better in my opinion than the other grade 3 that just, you know, when called, places it down in a deck like this where you can go and search grade 1s. Closing out the main deck then, we have the just one starter. I'm just running the regular route over here. You can run whatever you want, just make sure it's V1. Getting into our triggers then, I just have 3 of the stride ones, 4 of the draw crits. Draw crits are just really good. I know this isn't a claret name, but at the end of the day, just drawing defensively feels really, really good, so we got to do it. 4 of our Maclears, this is just the Sentinels. We need to draw, get into the late game. I don't think that we really necessarily need the PG in our main deck, just because we need a ton of slots for a lot of different things. This is a deck that needs to be teched out, so while it might feel very flavorful, I also feel like it's very necessary and intentional in its lineup. So you can play around a little bit. If you really want to drop one of these down, add Elementary back in, you can do that, absolutely. But this is just the way that I personally prefer to kind of build it. 4 copies of the Astra Chain Dragon, basically just the grade 3 Heal Guardians, as we kind of mentioned previously, as well as 1 of the purple OTs. Now, I've kind of mentioned it a couple times now, like survivability, long game, farming, harvesting, getting to that point, building up your power through your markers, things of that nature is the idea of the game. I feel like just healing one out and then choosing a card from my hand, calling it to rear, like you can get so much more additional value. Obviously the 100 million is what it is, but like just the survivability of this card, like we really want to get to the late game and then perform our closeout on a Raziel turn. This kind of, I feel like, is the best way to do it. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, sure, go blue. You can go red as well because you have a couple things, you know, that you could just multi-attack with a little bit more easily. It's completely up to you, but I feel like this is the theme of the deck and I'm kind of running with it, and the purple kind of allows me to go with that as well. So without further ado, let's hop right into the G-Zone. I'll kind of explain some choices there. Kicking us off is an oldie but goldie. I'm just going to look at Morfessa. Morfessa is just really solid with the Battle Door, allowing you also to, G-Zone flip, drawing 2 cards, and then until the end of turn, all your triggers in your drop zone count as grade 1. If you don't have a Counterblast also, the Ritual can still go off if you just naturally have it, continuous on Vanguard Circle. All your front row units get 15k and extra crit when your opponent will call cards from Guardian Circle. He or she must call 2 or more at the same time, so of course Battle Door, very, very powerful still. You know, just have a ton of markers, do classic Luard things. Sometimes that's all it takes. Next up here too, also Diablo. Diablo is pretty solid. It's a newer ad for me. Haven't really used it too much, but when the time is right for it, I feel like it's the absolute closeout. I did go into this one time and it feels kind of broken that it still exists. Act on Vanguard Circle once per turn. Counterblast 1, choose a card, basically a copy of itself from its G-Zone. If the number of your cards in G-Zone is 2 or more until the end of turn, this guy gets 10k and an additional crit, and also the red text of auto on Vanguard Circle. Choose 3 of your rear guards, retire them. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses 2 of their rear guards and retires them. He or she might, if he or she does not, your opponent cannot call cards from hand to Guardian Circle. Can't speak. It's really, really tiny, that text. I feel like the older G cards, but basically they can still G guard, which you know, kind of sucks, but they just can't hard guard from hand. So if they don't have the cost to pay for this, maybe this is the right time to kind of go into it. If you know they don't have a heal in hand, it's just an option. I feel like it's a good one to have in there. Another guy over here, basically the Restander, Dark Knight Crow Conch, same kind of thing. You retire, I think, what is it? Yeah, 2 rear guards. Your opponent chooses a bunch. If they can't hit that threshold at the end of battle, CB1 retire 2 rear guards and then stand this unit. So you're retiring a whole lot, but you're not losing a drive check off the restand. Sometimes the inherent pressure of just the Vanguard swinging is like enough to kind of carry you, and I think this is generically really good for this clan. I feel like this was actually one of the better. I think this came out in the last premium. Yeah, like the premium. What was it called? Not Clan Collection. Forgot what it was called. History Collection? No, History was the revive. I don't even remember. But the one before that, the 2022 one. Lastly, over here, actually not quite last, but last of kind of like the flavor ones. Dragobus Luard. It's just in here, just to kind of be in here. It doesn't use a counterblast, so it's an option to go into if you have to stride and you do want to go into something. What is the Soul Blast one? Choose a face down card with the same card name, basically flip its copy of itself. Search your deck for up to 2 grade 1 cards, call them separate rear guard circles, shuffle your deck. If you do call 2 units with the ritual ability, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. Filling your board, just making a turn when something really wasn't there previously. It's kind of what you want to do. On Vanguard Circle, GB3, Ritual X, all of your front row units get additional 10k for every 4 grade 1s in your drop zone. Again, just something to kind of make a turn out of nothing. You don't really go into that too often. 3 copies of Chain Ranker. Have one of my other copies. I only have, I think I have like 5 total. So I kind of split them between this and my Revengers deck. But 3 total. Basically, you want to copy either the Luard skill. You can do that if you really wanted to. But essentially, what you really want to do with this is be on the Raziel, copy its skills under triple door. So if you have 3 or more grade 1 or less units, If you have, yes, 3 or more grade 1 or less units, when your opponent would call cards from his hand to Guardian Circle, he or she must call 3 or more at the same time. Just extremely powerful. I think it's like really such a closeout with Raziel. Sometimes your opponent will have it, obviously, and if they're not calling from hand, if they have a bunch of G guards, like yeah. But at this point, if you've gone through like 3 turns, they should be through a couple of their G guards at that point, and they might not have the ones that they're really looking for. It just feels really nice. This is like an excellent thing to kind of close out on the Raziel with. This is a proxy. I just have like 4 or 5 copies of it at this point, but just don't really keep them in my decks. But this is going to be oh god, the Messiah, the Flip Messiah. Go get your your shield and all that stuff. The fun pay to play. Although it has been reprinted, I'm glad it has been reprinted pretty heavily. 3 copies of this over here, getting to our G guards. There's no other G guard that's really great. This is an amazing card. I'm so glad they really printed it. Dark Dragon, Deep Griever Dragon. So when this guy's put on Guardian Circle, choose up to 5 grade 1 cards from your drop, and then put them on the bottom of your deck in any order. This unit gets 5k for each of those cards put. If you put 5 cards, you CB one, and then choose one of your units. Cannot be hit until the end of battle. Pseudo PG. It feels just really, really nice. I feel like it's so easy to kind of do this in this deck, more so than even Revenger. Like, yeah, you'll tech one of these in, 1 or 2 of these in, like Revenger, but it just feels so natural. Luard feels even better. Next up over here, Witch Queen of Iniquity, I think, yeah, Angelito, something like that. GB1, this guy placed on Guardian Circle. Turn a G guard from your G-Zone Fleece face up. Choose 2 of your grade 1 or less rear guards, move in Guardian Circle. If you move 2 cards, draw a card. Could extend your plays a little bit, could just give you that extra card you need. Just, it's in there to be in there, really. The main one is that other grade 4, but that is pretty much the deck profile. Let me know what you guys think down below. I think that, again, this is a survivable deck, something that's kind of on par with like the idea of building over time. It doesn't get as much multi-attack as some of the newer decks and the Stride decks, but if you're not willing to pay that price tag, which I think a lot of people are not, even if you have access to it, I feel like there's a lot of content creators in general, they flock to maybe some of these better decks, and I'm sure there's profiles out at this point. You've seen the winning deck list. I really want to focus on this channel at least. This is kind of like almost like a video diary for me, this whole channel. These are decks that I think are kind of, I love rogue decks. I love decks that kind of challenge people's ideas. I think that this is really one of those decks that if you are playing this to perfection, if you are truly playing it to its best potential, I think it can go up against almost anything and still have a very decent shot. Tommy's a great pilot. Again, I just want to shout him out for making this deck. I really, really do appreciate all his playtesting that he's done with me into it. I kind of understand, well, I do understand, not to the same level he does, like he has insane lines of play, things of that nature, but I'll see if he can make a video on this. Maybe he's talking about some stuff that I don't honestly include, but yeah, no, this is a super fun deck. I feel like this is something that is not Crest, but is still very, very powerful and very slept on. I feel like this is definitely a rogue pick that people will not be expecting. So thank you guys again for watching. If you are enjoying the content, make sure you leave a like on this video, possibly consider subscribing in general. I have a lot more stuff coming. I'm definitely trying to get back to a little bit more consistent uploads with my videos. So thank you in advance. It's Alex from Alex CFE signing out.